Hello friends, how are you today? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sabs and I love all things fashion and handbags. For today's video, I thought I'd do a bag comparison between two of Chanel's most iconic bags, which are Chanel's classic flap bag and Chanel's reissue bag. I wanted to talk a little bit about the different leathers they come in, their sizes, their functionalities, their resale value, and at the very end, I wanted to share my personal opinion about which one I think is the better bag. If you're into handbags and slow fashion and you like my videos, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. I upload YouTube videos on Mondays. Also, I share my outfits on a daily basis on Instagram and TikTok, so follow me there if you like fashion inspo. The main reason I decided to do this comparison video is because I myself buy the majority of my handbags off the resale market, and when you're buying bags pre-loved, majority of the time you don't get that in-person shopping experience where you get to touch the leathers and feel the differences in quality and the textures and all that. So I wanted to mainly just share all the information that I wish I had before I started my luxury bag purchasing journey. And I just feel like buying pre-loved is such a good way to go if you do your due diligence and you do your research and you find all the information beforehand. I think you can make really good informed decisions, and that's what I hope this video can be for you guys. So initially I was only into the Chanel classic flap bag. I wouldn't say it was my holy grail bag because I don't think I have one of those, but I definitely found myself drawn to the design and the look of it. But the more I learned about luxury handbags and the more I was exposed to the reissue bag, I kind of came around to the design of it more and more, and then later decided to add one to my collection as well. So firstly, I wanted to discuss the design similarities and differences between the Chanel classic flap and the reissue bag. So starting with the classic flap bag, my first luxury bag purchase was a vintage Chanel classic flap in lamb leather and gold hardware. And as many of you guys know, the vintage Chanel bags had 24 karat plated gold hardware, and that's what gave them this really rich yellow gold color. Obviously, this bag is quite recognizable because of its CC Turnlock logo and its diamond quilting pattern. On the back, it has this Mona Lisa pocket. I believe the reason for that name is because of the subtle curve in the pocket resembles the Mona Lisa's subtle smile. And then once you open the bag, there are these two flaps. This is the outer one and this is the inner one, which is where the bag gets its name double flap from. On the inside of the outer pocket, you see this little zipper. And honestly, I don't think it serves any functional value because of how small and shallow this pocket is, but it is part of the brand's history because it is said that Coco Chanel used to store her love letters in this pocket. I'm not really sure how she did that. It is a very small pocket. An interesting fact about these bags is that this zipper that goes on this pocket, regardless of how well you take care of this bag, the zipper will leave imprints in the leather. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's just a part of the wear and tear of this bag. To me, it just seems like a bit of a design flaw because especially since this zipper doesn't serve any real purpose. It's just part of the original design of the bag. But yeah, it always leaves a little indent in the leather, no matter how well you take care of it. If you look in the resale market, all the bags, even if the exterior is seemingly perfect, like this bag right here, once you open it and look on the inner flap, there it is. You see the zipper marks that has been indented into the leather permanently. For me personally, the way I try to minimize the indent of the leather is that I try to just, when I'm closing the bag, I try to make sure the zipper is at least lying flat so that it kind of doesn't leave all sorts of different indents and imprints on the leather. And so at least if it's always lying flat, it's not going to be too deep of an imprint in the leather. That's just my personal thing. I just feel like this is such an important little detail to share because many people might think if they take better care of their bag that the wear and tear will be far less, and that's true on the exterior of the bag, but as far as this inner flap goes, that indent is going to show up on there no matter what you do. Another design feature that I don't fully understand, as it doesn't serve much of a function, is that the inner flap has this snap button that you could try to close it here, but it's so hard to snap and it doesn't really serve as much of a safety feature anyway. But one thing it does do that I feel like everyone should be aware of is if you're closing the bag, this little snap button could catch on the inner edge here. And as you can see, it has left a bit of a dent and crease on this part of the leather, which is kind of a bummer because I was being so careful with it, but this just sometimes happens. Again, I feel like this is just part of the original design that they kept, even though it serves no functional value whatsoever. When it comes to the black and dark color classic flaps, there's usually this beautiful contrasting burgundy leather interior, which I have actually loved forever, like since the beginning of seeing these bags. It can also be seen on the older versions. The shades are a little bit different, but the contrast is there nonetheless. And it's one of my favorite things about the designs of these bags. So as far as the pockets go, I already mentioned there's the Mona Lisa pocket on the exterior, which I don't really think you can use to put anything in, but it is a really cute design. And then when you open it, there is this bigger pocket. I have heard some people say that they store their iPhones or something in there, but I don't see how that's really possible because it's quite flat. And the only things I've ever put in there were envelopes or receipts or something very flat like that. And then on the interior of the bag, I am currently using a bag insert, but I will take it out to show you. So the inside has this one big compartment, and then there's these smaller flat pockets, which I don't really fit anything into. I just put the bag's own authenticity card in there. And then there's this pocket in the middle, and that is said to be for storing your lipstick. But again, I don't really put my lipstick in there. I don't think it would be very easy to put in and pull out at all. As far as the things that fit into this bag, the structure of the bag is quite rigid. You have to be quite intentional with what you put in, but if you put everything in there in an organized, neat way, you can fit in a good amount of essentials in there. As far as how this bag could be carried, there are two ways. The strap could be doubled and then worn over the shoulder quite comfortably. The drop is at a really good height, that it's not sitting right under your armpit, but it kind of just sits like this. And then if you could wear it as a single chain, and this way it would sit sort of lower on your body, or you could crossbody it as well. I have heard a lot of people say that they can't crossbody the bag, but for my height, that works really well and really comfortably, especially in the small size. I find that the crossbody length is quite good for people between 5'4" to 5'6", 7". At the end of the day, it really has to do with your preference and how high you like your bag to sit on your body. Now moving on to the reissue bag, a lot of the design elements of the previous Chanel Classic flap are also seen in this bag. The reason why this is called the reissue bag is because Coco Chanel herself designed this bag back in 1955, and then Karl Lagerfeld brought it back in 2005, so 50 years after the bag's original design, and that's why it's called the reissue bag. So if you're passionate about the history of the brand, this bag is probably most closely reflective of Coco Chanel's original design for the bag. Again, most of the design elements of this bag are pretty much the exact same of the classic flap bag, but it is in the details where the differences are. So this bag also has the Mona Lisa pocket, and it also does have a turn lock, and it does have a chain that could be worn as a single strap or a double strap. But then when you look at the details, the classic flap bag has a CC logo turn lock versus this one has a Mademoiselle rectangular turn lock. That's what this is called. Opens pretty much the same way. You do have to turn the lock, but the turn lock looks slightly different. And then for the strap, the classic flap does have a leather interwoven into the chain strap, whereas the reissue bag is just a metal chain the whole way through. The pockets on the inside are pretty much the same as well. This does have a double flap, zipper compartment on the top flap, and this bigger one here. And the interior, I have a bag insert for this one as well, but it does have these 3 flat pockets on the back, the same way the classic flap did. The other notable differences between the reissue bag and the classic flap are, one, the structure is noticeably different. So if you look at the classic flap, their base is quite rigid. It looks like they have some kind of hard cardboard at the bottom, because it kind of keeps its rigid structure and it sits flat when you sit it on a tabletop, just like this. Sides also are not very bendy. When you're holding the Chanel Classic flap, the chain can make a bit of noise, but it's not too loud because at the end of the day, there is this leather strap woven through the chain, whereas every time I'm dealing with the chain on this one, especially when I'm putting it on a table, like, you hear that? It's so loud. And then, as I said before, the Chanel Classic flap has a hard base, so it sits comfortably on a table or a hard surface. This one, because it has a rounded base, it does not sit. So even when I'm storing it, I have to either put it between other bags, or I have to buy a stand that holds the chain like this because it will not sit on a shelf. The last major difference between this bag and the Chanel Classic flap is that the chain strap is a bit longer. When it's doubled, it's not as noticeable. It still feels like a regular shoulder bag, but when it is worn as a single chain, it's visibly longer. And when you crossbody it, it does sit quite a lot lower. I personally, for my height, don't love the way this looks when I wear it as a shoulder bag with just a single strap. I feel like it sits a little too low compared to the classic flap, but definitely as a crossbody, it does sit at a way more comfortable height. When it comes to styling the classic flap bag, it is quite a statement bag and it looks good regardless of how you style it. I could wear it with a more dressy outfit like this one and it would look like a formal bag. And I have also styled it with just jeans and a t-shirt, and I love the statement it makes with a casual outfit as well. So it really has to do with how many occasions you have in your life where you find yourself reaching for this bag. I love to wear it with any type of outfit, and I think it makes a statement regardless of how you style it. And that's the beautiful thing about this bag. One design aspect about the Reissue bag that draws many people to this bag, myself included, is the more relaxed structure. The bag is a lot more under the radar as it doesn't have any major CC logos that visibly draws attention to the fact that this is a Chanel bag. It's more of an if you know, you know bag. The other thing is the crinkled calfskin leather also makes it a bit more of a carefree bag. Because it is a crinkled leather, it does have a more matte finish to it than the lambskin leather. And so this kind of does take on a more casual look, and that could be a good thing or a bad thing. If you're looking to wear it with more casual looks, this would be such a good option for you. If you're trying to dress it up, that's still a possibility as well, but it's more of a casual looking bag in comparison to a lambskin classic flap. I really do have to be careful. Like if I have this on, I don't just sit down or lean back on the bag, because if this gets squished, there's no way to make it come back. You just have to really mind the structure so that you don't warp it and kind of lose its structure, because once it's twisted or the bottom is bent, there's no going back really unless you take it to a professional repair shop. But with this bag, as you can see, it's quite squishy. I didn't get this new, but what I have heard is that this bag, when you make the purchase in the first place, it comes as a folded bag. So that means it's probably more travel friendly. If you're putting it in the luggage, you don't have to worry as much about the structure getting warped, and quite a lot easier to fit more items into this bag because, like I said, it is softer. It's just not a really easy bag to become misshapen, you know? And I've worn this in crowded places where I sometimes get bumped into and I get squished, and I don't really have to worry about this bag too much. So as far as traveling purposes goes, I feel like the Reissue bag is a much more travel-friendly bag. The other fact being that it doesn't have the CC logo or any other Chanel logo on it. It just has a little, says Chanel really small on the turn lock, and that's not so visible, way more low-key. So if you want to go somewhere and not attract too much attention to the brand of your bag, this one would definitely be a better choice. So let's talk about popularity of these bags and how it has impacted the resale value of them in the resale market. So the different bags have had enduring appeal throughout the years. So there's only a couple of brands that have had designs last this long, and that would be Hermes's Kelly and Birkin bags. Chanel is the second brand that has some of the oldest designs that have lasted in popularity for so many years, and there's a reason for that. The style is classic, the quality is there, and they just look so stunning with so many different looks. The one thing to keep in mind is that the classic flap has always performed better on the resale market. So if you're ever unsure of which one to get and you want to consider it solely on the resale value, I would say the Chanel Classic Flap retains its value so much better than the Reissue bag. But then that kind of becomes a double-edged sword, because the Chanel Reissue bag can be found on the resale market at such good prices at times. So if you want a really good deal on a Chanel bag, you're way more likely to find Reissue bags at really reasonable prices versus the Chanel Classic Flap that every time there's a price increase, that price increase also is reflected in the resale market, and it's kind of hard to get them at affordable prices at this point. But obviously popularity fluctuates as trends change throughout the years, and right now with the rise in popularity of quiet luxury and having things be a little bit more subtle, I feel like the Reissue bag might become even more popular than the Chanel Classic Flap over time. With that being said, I wanted to thank this video sponsor, which is Lady Deluxe Consignment Shop. They have an Instagram account where they feature all their bags, and they have such a good variety of Chanel bags. I actually happened to buy this bag from her, and she was so kind about it. They have really good payment plans, so if you don't feel comfortable paying a huge lump sum right away for a bag, you can put a deposit and then you can make monthly payment until you pay off the bag, and then the bag is yours. And Lady D is Ontario based, so for those of you who are in Canada and want to buy consignment bags, it is a better route to buy it from a Canadian consignor, because then you don't have to pay import fees, which could be so steep. I will link their social media and their website in the description box in case you're ever interested in checking out their bags. So now I wanted to talk about the different leathers that these bags come in, their durability, and their sizes. The Chanel Classic Flap, the main leathers that they come in are the lambskin and the caviar. The lambskin is the soft, smooth leather, and the caviar is grained calfskin leather. And as far as durability goes, the caviar is the most durable because of the grained leather. It is a lot more scratch resistant, but it doesn't reflect light exactly the same way as the lambskin, which I just love the black and gold lambskin leather one. It just looks so shiny and so luxurious. But this one is preferred by the majority of people. It's definitely more durable, but it does look a bit more casual. The reissue bag is usually offered in the crinkled leather or distressed calfskin leather. This is sort of in between the caviar and the lambskin in terms of durability. It doesn't show scratches as easily as lambskin because it does have a lot of crinkles in the leather. That's kind of the beauty of this crinkled leather. It does look a bit more casual, of course, but I have not experienced any scratches on this one. You don't have to worry as much with if you have long nails or keys or things like that. But again, I do always suggest just being careful with these bags because they are quite expensive and you don't want to get any big scratches on them. But small scratches, I've heard, can be buffed out so easily and it's not something to stress too much about. And lastly, lambskin leather, which is this beauty right here. This one is the least durable out of the three leathers, but I don't think it is as scary as people find it. Most people just go towards the caviar because they're so scared of scratching the lamb leather, but I prefer it and I wear it out. I am personally someone who's careful anyway, regardless of what kind of bag I'm carrying. So I kind of treat all these bags the same way. And I would recommend that if you know yourself to be kind of on the cautious side, I don't think there's any issue with getting a lambskin and it's not going to get scratched up as much as you would think. Now to talk a little bit about sizing, the classic flaps come in the smallest, which is a square mini, and that's a 17 centimeter base, only producing them in lambskin. And then there is the mini rectangle, and that one has a 20 centimeter base. Classic flap in small with a 23 centimeter base. Medium, this one has a 25 centimeter base. They also come in a jumbo, which has a 30 centimeter base. The maxi, which has a 33 centimeter base. Reissue bags mostly come in the calfskin leather. For the seasonal bags, they do with caviar, and I think I've seen some suede as well, which are really pretty. Those aren't as readily available. The most common leather are the aged calfskin or the crinkled calfskin. The sizes do come in a mini, which is 20 centimeters. There's the small, which is 24 centimeters. The large is 28 centimeters. And the maxi reissue has a 31 centimeter base. The one thing that I do want to mention, but I don't have the bag in person, so I'm going to be putting up pictures, is that the Chanel reissue bag in the diamond quilting, the quilts are not as puffy as the quilts that you see on the Chanel Classic flap. You can see the protruding flaps and it does look a lot more stuffed. It's not easily squishy. It has the cutest little bumps and the way it reflects the light is so beautiful. But what I've noticed the reissue bag is that the quilting is quite soft and it's a lot more flat, which I guess is part of the charm of the bag because as I was mentioning, the structure of the bag is a lot softer and more malleable. So the quilts probably lend themselves to the softness of the bag. It's not so fully stuffed the way these quilts are, but that was something that when I was looking to Chanel, I love the pillowy diamond quilt. If that is one thing that draws you to the brand is a soft looking quilt, then you might prefer the Chanel Classic flap over the reissue bag. I myself ended up going for this reissue bag because like I said, I do like the puffy quilting of the Chanel Classic flaps. That's just something that I've always been drawn to. And so when I was seeing the diamond quilted reissue bags, I was thinking it's a little bit too flat for my personal preference. I like when the quilting is so pillowy. So when I saw this one and I saw how the light reflects this one, I was like, okay, this looks really quilted and I really liked it. I realized that I like the chevron pattern more for the reissue bag, and that's why I ended up going for this one, and I still stand by it. I find them so pretty. So I would say the overall design of this one is my preferred style, that this is my perfect bag, but I do find this bag a little bit hard to travel with. So that is something that I have to warn everyone. It's just not a really easy travel bag. So that is all for my comparison between these two styles of bags. I hope you found this helpful and informative. If you like this type of content, please make sure to give me a thumbs up and leave a comment of which one you think is the prettier or nicer bag. Or if you do have the bag, please share your experience of which one you like more. I hope you have a lovely week and I'll see you next Monday. Bye!